Hey Filmbuffs, welcome back to Film Feature 43. I have a question about Thor Love and Thunder. Well, strike that. I have a lot of questions about Thor Love and Thunder, but the one that I want to answer in today's video is Mjolnir omnipotent, or can it at least see the future? So, obligatory spoiler warning for all things Thor in the MCU, up until Thor Love and Thunder, because I'm going to talk about it all. With that out of the way, let's start talking about Mjolnir. So we see in Thor Love and Thunder that Thor's weapon of choice, Mjolnir, is back together and being wielded by Thor's girlfriend of choice, Jane Foster. So that begs the question, why in 5 to 8 years...
8 years, 7 months and 6 days, give or take.
...of MCU continuity did Mjolnir never call out to Thor and reconstitute himself to be able to be used by Thor in battle? Or... in the least, why did it never call out to anybody else who was worthy and reassemble itself for anyone else who was worthy up until Mjolnir called out for Jane Foster specifically? So the first thing you might ask yourself is Thor no longer worthy to wield Mjolnir? I mean, after he goes for the head at the beginning of Endgame, he does kind of go into a depression, which is understandable. I mean, he lost his mother, his brother, his father, his home planet, half of his home planet's population, and with all of his talk of fate and his tenacity to beat Thanos, he ultimately fails, allowing Thanos to destroy half of every other planet's population.
You should have gone for the head.
So with that depression, he gains a lot of weight, and he just lays around New Asgard playing video games, ultimately giving up protecting the Nine Realms from any other threat that they may face. And we also know that after Mjolnir is broken up into itty-bitty pieces by Hela, that it is used as a tourist attraction in New Asgard. So, for 5+ years, Thor was within walking distance of his favorite weapon of choice, and Mjolnir never called to him. So, is it because Thor isn't worthy? Well, we know the answer to that is no, because Bro Thor in Endgame wields a past version of Mjolnir.
I'm still worthy.
So he's obviously worthy then, and in Thor Love and Thunder, we see him wield the reconstituted Mjolnir in the present timeline. So Thor is clearly worthy to wield Mjolnir, but maybe it's not a question of worthiness, it's a question of need. I mean, the last time that Thor and his hammer were in contact, it was broken into hundreds of pieces, and he was whisked away to Sakaar on some grand adventure. He probably never thought to call to his hammer because he just watched it get broken, and by the time he came back to Earth, he had another weapon in the form of Stormbreaker, which was an axe that can do everything that Mjolnir can, and summon the Bifrost to make portals to go across the galaxy.
Bring me Thanos!
So, Mjolnir's kind of obsolete at that point. And although Thor doesn't need his magical hammer anymore, there is one person that needs his magical hammer and or the healing powers that may or may not come with it, and that person is Jane Foster.
Jane?
One thing that a lot of people overlook in Thor Love and Thunder is the fact that Thor puts a command on Mjolnir to protect Jane. And throughout Thor Love and Thunder, that's exactly what Mjolnir's trying to do. That's why he calls to her when she starts looking to turn her into the mighty Thor, because he thinks that that's going to stop her from dying of cancer. But the question is, if the last time that Mjolnir and Jane were in the same room was 8 years ago, how does it know that she's dying of cancer now? I think there are 3 possible answers to this question. The first is that he could sense the cancer in her 8 years ago and was kind of biding his time until she started looking for answers to try to save her. The second is he can see the future or is in some way omnipotent. He knows that she's sick and that's why he starts calling out and she starts seeking him. Or the third possibility, and what my theory is, that Mjolnir is tied to the Bifrost, kind of like Stormbreaker, but instead of making portals from one side of the galaxy to the other, he actually has the ability to see 10 trillion souls across the universe, just like Heimdall. I mean, if you think about it, Mjolnir has the ability to judge whether somebody is worthy based on their past actions. So, how can he do that if he can't see what their past actions are? This is why he never calls out to Thor, because he knows that Jane's going to need him eventually. So, he doesn't call out to Thor. Thor doesn't need him, but Jane does. And Thor accidentally put that incantation on him to protect Jane, and that's what he's going to do. But the saddest part about it is, and why I don't think he can see the future or is omnipotent, is everything that Mjolnir does to help and protect Jane ultimately leads to her dying by taking the chemotherapy out of her body. So that's why I think, like Heimdall, Mjolnir can see the past and he can see the present of trillions and trillions of people, but he can't see the future, and ultimately that's what ends up killing Jane Foster. At least that's what I think. So let me know down below, did you guys like Thor Love and Thunder? What was your favorite Thor movie? I prefer Ragnarok myself, but I had an enjoyable time with Thor Love and Thunder. Let me know what you think about my theory down in the comments, and as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.